Hi guys, on the couch it is Hamish Marr, Methven boy, who is doing amazing things. It came onto my radar just a week or so ago at council, and I thought, geez, here we go again. Mid Canterbury, bloody producing some cracking people who are punching well above our weight, and you are a World Trade Envoy, out and about spreading the good agricultural word from good old Mid Canterbury,
Yeah.
but representing New Zealand.
Yeah.
Mate, that's awesome. Tell me about this gig, or tell me first about Hamish Marr and Methven and Mid Canterbury.
Yeah, no trouble. Look, it's a pleasure to be here. Firstly, can I compliment you on your shirt?
Beautiful.
Yeah,
We
great.
should have called each other.
Yeah, great minds obviously think alike.
Yeah, indeed.
Look, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I've seen the calibre of people you have sitting on this couch. I guess a shout out to Johnny Galbraith. Him and I were talking about this yesterday. So, hi Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go the Hammers.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm born and bred in Methven, farming there. I'm married to Melanie. I have 3 children. I farm in partnership with my brother and his wife and his children. My mum and dad are still there. We're mixed cropping on our place at our farm in Methven. Stu and I will be the 5th generation farming at home. So we're very much traditional, what I would say, Mid Canterbury mixed farming. So we've got grain and seeds, some processed crops. We've got heifer grazing for a neighbouring dairy farmer, and we do lamb finishing with a guy in the summertime. So that's at my farming operation, and very very much born and bred Mid Canterburyan.
So your brother Stu, is he the mountain biking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to get him on the couch too. Stu,
I should have brought him down.
Stu, I'm coming after you because what him and the guys and girls involved with Bike Methven have done up in Mount Hart is just amazing. It's and there's so many people coming from Christchurch saying this is a bloody gold mine here. And
Well, people come from all around, don't they?
They
because
do.
Because it's the perfect location.
it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's
The
brilliant.
tracks are superb.
Yeah.
Yep. So well done, mate. And yep, you're welcome on the couch anytime. Right, so back to you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're right. So I guess that's our farming thing. I guess, do you want to know my little my life story or?
Go on, yeah.
So I've been to Lincoln University when I finished school. Did a BCom Ag there. I worked in Mid Canterbury here for Ravensdown Fertiliser. So I did agronomy with them for 4 years below in an area between the Hines River and the Rangitata River.
Mm-hmm.
When I started there, it was not as it is now. So there was a lot of cropping there. There was a lot of sheep. They say there was every kilometre of the Hines Arundel Road there was 1,000 ewes. I think every kilometre of the Hines Arundel Road now it's probably 1,000 cows.
Yeah.
So it just shows in that period in the last 20 years how much Mid Canterbury's changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably Mid Canterbury's story over the last 100 and odd years. It's just been one of continual change, and that's one of Mid Canterbury's real strengths is
Yes.
this diversity, and we have options here.
Yep.
Which I'll get to, I guess. So I did that for a while, and then went home to our farm in 2004, and been farming there with mum and dad, and then in latter years, Stu and his wife have come home as well. So it's quite a good family thing. We both bring different strengths to our business. I bring the agronomic side of things, and Stu has he's a qualified helicopter engineer.
Whoa.
And so he brings a completely different strength to our business because he sees things in a totally different light to what I do. So it's a really good balance we have there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so how the hell did you get this other gig?
Well, I guess I'll explain what it is, and then we'll come back to that piece. So
Nice.
I have this wonderful role, the New Zealand Special Agricultural Trade Envoy, and it's a ministerial appointment appointed by the Minister of Agriculture, and essentially it was put in place about 30 years ago. I'm probably the 6th or 7th iteration of this role.
Okay.
And essentially, I'm the independent voice of the New Zealand farmer to the minister, but also to the government and the government departments that deal in trade, so MPI, which is the Ministry for Primary Industries, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I'm the independent voice of the farmer to trade. So I deal with our government, with overseas governments, and New Zealand, anyone that's buying our product offshore. And I don't have a vote and I don't have a say as such. I sit along, but what I do is I sit alongside the people in those government departments to be the voice of the farmer to those different departments. Because for New Zealand, the importance of this gig is that agriculture is everything to this country. 82% of our traded income comes from agriculture. So if we get the agricultural trade piece wrong, we haven't got much else to fall back on.
Yeah.
And if you think about why that's important, like from an economics point of view, the shoes I have on, the jeans I wear, the shirts that you and I have on in common, our phones, our cars, the things we build our houses out of, everything else comes from offshore. So we haven't got a car manufacturing industry anymore. We haven't got a heavy industry as such. So from a purely economics point of view, a lot of money goes out every time we pay the $100 a month or whatever it is for our phone. $100 goes away. We've got to make sure we get money in, or essentially, over time, our little country is just going to go bankrupt. So it's really important that we get the agricultural piece right. And so it's really important then that the voice of the farmer, who's doing all the nuts and bolts and is producing all these good things that everyone else wants to buy, it's really important that our voice is in amongst the conversation. Because it's one thing for our government representatives to be saying and telling our story to overseas governments and to the countries that are buying our food. It's another thing to be hearing it from the people that are actually doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So when a minister's overseas working on some sort of free trade arrangement with a country, are you there before them talking on behalf of the farmer, or are you purely in that minister's ear so they're saying the right things when they're away?
A bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, really it's a bit of both. So you will have read and you will have heard we're working hard on some kind of trade agreement with India. Mm-hmm. So I was in India earlier this year. I think the minister's been up there twice since. I'm hoping to go back up there next year. I'm going to South America in the first 2 weeks in December, and the minister actually is up there now doing government to government, and he's with a business delegation. We're going up soon. A business delegation just sussing out, what our options might be. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I remember the enthusiasm you talked to us at council about, and you just said it was a dream job for you.
Oh yeah. Look, yeah, it is a dream job. I think I told you that when this sort of happened, I felt like I'd been named in the All Blacks. But literally, I can tell you exactly where I was in our yard. And yeah, it is the dream job. It comes with pressure. There is no doubt about that. And the pressure is to get it right. And the pressure is that I actually have the whole country. When you think about that, 85% of the trade income comes from agriculture. Actually, everyone's future depends on we get this thing right. So I definitely take that really seriously, but at the same time, I feel really proud to have this opportunity. And I have the dream job. I get to sell New Zealand, and it's a great sell.
Yeah,
yeah, and you only have to go travelling offshore and look back to realise how special New Zealand is, and the options that we have, and the advantage that we have over many other countries.
Yeah.
We've
got our battles. I think we're turning corners and we're winning on those, and it's important that we do, and that beautiful message is continued to be shared worldwide. What are you? Is there still a really good New Zealand feel that you're getting when you go abroad?
Yeah, there really is, Phil. Every meeting I go to offshore, just about every time, the first thing that comes up is how great New Zealand is, how in the regard that our country's held in. We've had this reputation for so long of being people of integrity and the integrity of the product that we sell.
Yes.
And people will have heard me say that what's written on the box is what's actually inside the box, or what's written on the bags and what is inside the bag. And that carries so much weight. People look to New Zealand as an exemplar on agricultural sustainability. Now there were people that there'll be farmers and people that won't want to hear this story, but it really is almost the first thing that comes up is sustainability, and New Zealand is really leading the way in that. If I can touch on that, and the reason why, and it's a big key difference and an advantage we have, is that New Zealand is really mid Canterbury as well, but New Zealand is predominantly a pastoral country. So I think by area of land, 50% of our actual land area is in pasture. 25% of it is uninhabitable and unusable, so the Southern Alps and bush and other things, and then the dairy sector and arable and horticulture and viticulture and things make up the rest. But the predominant land use in New Zealand is in pasture, and compared to the rest of the world, that is not the thing at all. Our real key advantage in New Zealand is that our animals, our sheep, our cows, our deer, all use their legs and go to the feed.
Yeah.
In most other countries, in the developed world anyway,
yes,
they mow the feed and then take it to the animal.
Yeah.
Now there's two things. That has real cost in terms of money, but also it has real cost environmentally.
Yes.
Fossil fuel and all of that. So that is our good news story.
Yeah.
And people really want to know and understand, how have you done that? When we start telling people that we had, in the 1980s, we peaked at, I think, 72 million sheep, and now we're down to 20. 2 years ago, our production of lamb was the same as what it was in the 80s. So we had 70 million sheep producing however many tonnes of meat. 2 years ago, with only 22 million, we had the same production. So we're a story of sustainability and efficiency. When you look at those numbers alone.
The grass-fed thing has got to be such an easy sell for you when you compare. I've watched some of the documentaries you see on food producing out of the States. You think, is that 100% correct?
Yeah.
But there are some pretty horrific looking sites. Some of those American feedlots, etc., compared to some beef or some sheep wandering around the hills of mid Canterbury. So that must be, you must be going, phew.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it is. It's because it's a great story, but it's a really interesting story for us. It's our key point of difference. But markets are all very different. So one thing I learned this on my, I did a Nuffield scholarship in 2019, which we can probably come back to if you like. But it's about what markets and what everyone thinks is normal. And so what we think in New Zealand as being normal, the way we farm in mid Canterbury,
yes,
or the way we farm in the North Island, what we see in front of us is our perspective on normal. And anyone who sits outside that bracket of normal will immediately, your ears prick up and think, that might not be right. But actually the way the Americans do it, the way the Europeans do it, the way anyone else does it in the world, that's their normal.
Right. Yep.
So we've got to be really careful that we don't criticise what their normal is, because actually their standards and their expectations for themselves and their input standards, which affect us, is all based on their normal. So if you think about Europe, for example, they've been farming there for for thousands and thousands of years, and they've got a population history the same age. Tiny little villages. I don't know. You will have been to Europe, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. And you go through all the little villages and the cobbled streets and the houses all around it. And once upon a time, every village, there was a farm right in the middle of the village, and the land around it supported that village. Well, you fast forward to 2024, and all that subdivision is still in place, and the population's so densely packed in amongst and around those little villages. The way those village people look at agriculture would be completely different to the way we would look at it here.
Yes.
So so this is what we think is normal, and what they think is normal is different. And the pasture-fed one, to come back to that, is a really interesting thing. So we have our lean pasture-fed meat or dairy or whatever. Beautiful product, and it is.
Yep.
The Americans don't see pasture-fed as being premium product, because for them, grain-fed is normal. Mm-hmm. White butter is normal. I mean, we would see white butter and go, what the hell is that? Mm. But their butter is white because their cows are fed soy and corn predominantly. Our butter's yellow because it's fed in a pasture diet. So all of those things come into it. In China, when I was just there, there is really no premium for pasture-finished meat and lamb in China. The premium is on the fact that it comes from New Zealand. They're really confused about pasture finished meat because it's so foreign to them.
Right.
So actually what we have to work on for China, the Chinese market, and it's 30% of our agricultural trade is to China, is the whole food safety piece, because they're very, very conscious of food safety. And New Zealand has a wonderful name in food safety globally. For the farmers listening, the audit process that we all go through for our cow sheds and for our lambs and for our grain and things, it's all there for a reason. And our markets are very conscious of the fact that our government is actually having a look at what we're doing, so that when I go to China to talk about product, I can ask about audited things. I can say, well, actually, yes, we are audited, and it's all very good.
Yeah.
So markets are different. Markets are different everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get local people, saying, "Oh, China"?
Yeah.
I know you do. What's your answer to them? As you say, 30%. So
yeah, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Look, I come back to that thing I was talking about before about what is normal. I just went to China, and I'd never been before, and I found a beautiful country, full of good people, and that are very conscious of good quality food and on food safety. There is a genuine recession on in China, and it was difficult in the first few days when I was there to actually physically spot it, because the cities we were in were very westernised. All the Western shops, Starbucks, all the clothing labels that my wife would know, but I don't. Maybe you do. But all all the shops are there. The roads are big. The cars are lovely. Everything's clean. And then we were talking about the economy and said, well, have a look in the restaurants. And they were right. There's actually no one in them.
Right.
And prior to the COVID pandemic, China was hustle and bustle. China was all go. But what's happened in that time is the country locked down for 80 days, completely changed the way people are looking at stuff. But also the realisation in that time that there's been so much development on in China now that they've built too many houses, too many buildings. There's no demand. So what happens when there's no demand? Things come down, and that certainly happened. So look, the demand from China will still be there. They're a nation that food security and food safety is very important. But in terms of paying a premium compared to what we were used to maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, just might not be there for the next couple of years anyway. But it's not a market that's going to disappear. In saying that, we've had first mover advantage with China for a number of years with a free trade agreement. There's now a lot of other people with access to China that didn't before. So my message to answer that question, more than ever, we have to do the best. We have to do the best that we can. We have to do the best that we can all the time to produce the best product that we can, and we really have to listen to the people that are buying our product off us, be that the stock agents, the dairy companies, the seed merchants, the whoever, the wool buyers, whoever. My advice is just we have to listen to what our markets are saying, because that's where the nuggets are. Mm-hmm. It's providing the market what it wants, rather than giving them what we think they need. Yeah. And there's a real key difference there. Yeah. Yeah.
Is the American market, is that high on your to-do list?
Yep. So the United States are now our second most important market after China. They overtook Australia earlier in the year. So dairy and beef particularly, but also lamb, wine, horticulture. Again, we have a very, very good reputation in the US, but it's a different story to what it is in China. The American market, it's all about select cuts of meat. It's all about how we can add value to their existing market. America are different to China in that China is very much needs food inputs for food security. The United States is one of the most food secure countries in the world, and actually exports about 20% of its surplus.
Right.
So they can quite happily survive without imports.
Yes.
What we can do is add value to their product, and the example at the moment is beef. Our pasture finished beef, very low in fat compared to grain finished beef, as we talked about.
Yep.
It's used a lot. Our pasture finished beef used a lot in their grinding beef to lower the fat content.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all those little things, and the dairy industry too. Our grain-fed dairy has completely different nutrient makeup and nutrient characteristics. If you break milk down into the individual proteins, they behave differently than what American milk proteins, again because of the diet. And if you think about it, they're a very sophisticated market in terms of food and their manufacturing sector. There's companies in the United States actively seek out milk proteins from pasture to add value to their own product. So yeah, we work hard. We work hard to try and tell the story and bring all that to market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the UK market, that used to be now.
Yeah, well, so that's an interesting story too. So if you think back to our forebears, and we were part of the British Empire, very much with the mindset of food produced here to send to Britain. The graph I showed you the other day, I think it was in the 1960s, 70% or 80% of the food we produced was for Britain. Mm-hmm. Now it's something like 6%. There is a reason for that, and that's when the UK joined the EEC, or what is now the European Union, in the 1970s, and we subsequently went through the 1980s. We stopped subsidising farmers. All of a sudden, the country is a free market economy, so we're operating now in a non-subsidised way. We have to diversify the way we do things. We have to diversify our markets, and we have to look for profit. So from the 1980s onwards, you've seen real diversity in where our markets lie.
Right.
Yeah.
So are we sending our top end sort of stuff that way nowadays rather than?
Well, I like to think all of our stuff's top end.
Yeah.
But yes, you most definitely, yeah.
You touched on sheep and wool briefly, and I asked you the question to council with some wool buying friends of mine in mind.
Yeah.
Can you ever see a future again in wool?
Well, look, it's a real frustration for every farmer. I think for everyone that thinks about sustainability. I'm wearing wool. I'm not sure whether this carpet's wool, but everything should be wool.
Yeah.
It's available. It's got all those sustainability characteristics that should make it the number one product. But for whatever reason, it's just fallen out of favour. It's ridiculous that it costs more to shear a sheep than what the product off the
100%.
animal's back. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Anecdotally, I'm told that there's parts of South America that are sitting on 5 years' worth of wool. I know that there'll be wool sheds in New Zealand here that have got a number of years worth sitting in them.
Yeah.
Look, all we can do is hope. There are a lot of people in this country and in other parts of the world working hard on alternative uses for wool.
Yes.
So, look, both fingers, both toes crossed that something comes to it, because it's ridiculous that it's a byproduct. It shouldn't be a byproduct.
Well, the Country Calendar a few weeks ago, there was a farmer who was dumping it and composting it.
Yeah.
It
doesn't make sense.
Oh God. Well, I've just bought a wool dog bed.
Yes.
And a Hessian sort of a sack covering. And every morning I get out, walk into the lounge, and here's this slight Hessian sort of sack smell.
Oh yeah.
And the dog bloody hasn't moved because he's got this beautiful warm
Yeah.
bed to sit on, and I just think, we need more innovation like that, so it is a market that recovers.
I mean, the marketing should be, yes, it's not as durable as synthetics in terms of carpet and things, but actually that should be one of its attractiveness too, because when it is worn out, A, you can use it for something else.
Yep.
But B, it will break down.
Yes.
Whereas your synthetic, not that this is synthetic, but your polar fleece jersey, when that's done, it's going to be in the ground, and it's still going to be there in 200 years' time.
Yeah. And is that something you I think you touched on that across the world? You're finding more of that environmentally minded stuff. Coming across that more and more.
Yeah, more and more. Look, it really is a conversation, and countries are going to start, and it's already started. There'll be sustainability elements put into trade very shortly. One thing that I'm very conscious of is that we've got our own story here to tell, and to a certain extent Australia do as well, and we're actually very similar. We farm within our environmental constraints. We're right in the middle of the temperate zone, so it rains, we have good soil, our animals go to the feed. That story I told you before. If we don't put some standards or write it into free trade agreements or whatever, that the way we do things is our way and it's the accepted way, then if North America or Europe or somewhere in Asia come up with their own measures for what sustainability is, our way in little old New Zealand will just be ridden over the top of, and then we'll all of a sudden have to conform with what someone else thinks is normal. If we can come right back to that piece again.
Yeah.
And we're nowhere near normal compared to anyone else. So the challenge is going to be that the way America will want their sustainability story to be number one, Europe will want their one to be number one, and there will be some of that in trade.
Yeah.
Our thing is to be on our own, but it's accepted by them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Nuffield Scholarship.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was again a very proud day. So I don't know whether many people in the audience will know or even heard of it. To go back, I was awarded a Nuffield Scholarship in 2018, one of 5 people that year. The origins of a Nuffield Scholarship go back to Britain after World War II, and if you can think of, same thing that happened here, a lot of people went away to fight. A number of them didn't come back. Life goes on. People still need to eat, but the people that had gone away some of them were farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Britain was really hungry. And Britain was hungry, and it was getting hungrier. At the same time, there was the car manufacturer, Mr. Morris, William Morris, Morris Minor, Morris 1100, MGs, all that. He had been to Detroit, and he had visited Henry Ford, because he was frustrated that he could only produce 10 cars in a day. Henry Ford was pumping out 100, and he wanted to know why. So he went and he visited, and he looked at the way Henry Ford was doing things on a production line, and he worked out, actually, there's real value in overseas travel. And if I hadn't gone and seen that, I would never have known, and we wouldn't be going any good. So he looked at the problem in agriculture, and he thought, I need to send some people away to look at agriculture outside of the UK, to see if they can bring some technology and some ideas and be prepared to stand up in front of others and espouse those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So he started off this thing, the Nuffield Scholarship, and he sent one person away in 1948, I think it was. Set up a trust, sent those people away, and that just rolled on. In 2019, I was one of 60 that were awarded one of those things around the world. That was another All Black day, to be honest, because in agriculture we read about these Nuffield scholars, and we hear them and we see them, and you think, gee, these guys have got it going on. And then so to be named as one, I was,
proud.
I was proud. I couldn't have been prouder. And that led me on a tour around the world, looking at agriculture and really looking at farming systems, and it probably really set me up for this role, because I have a really, well, those of us that are lucky to go, have a really unique understanding of that farming isn't just growing meat or milk or carrots or whatever it is that we do. We're part of a community, and we're part of the ecosystem that is humanity. Mm-hmm. And so you get to look at it's a study of people and of politics and of history and where people live and how they live, where they work, all of those things that go to make up the fabric of society. And then on top of all that, it's where does farming sit in and fit in amongst all that. It was the most amazing time. Yeah.
Wow. Right. We better wrap this thing up. I know you'll have a message for Mid-Canterbury.
Yeah. My message for Mid-Canterbury is that we should all be proud of our province. And that's everyone, not just farmers, not you in council. Everyone that lives in Mid-Canterbury should be really proud of our province, but also our country. We really live in the most amazing place that the world is very, very jealous of. And for those things I said at the start, we're a people of integrity, and our product carries that same integrity with us. I mean, if you look at that photo behind us, I think that says it all to me. All I see in that photo is diversity, mm-hmm. and I see agility in the things that we do. And the secret to New Zealand's success over the years is we've been agile in producing a product that the market wants, and in a way that and we're producing it in a way that the market wants. So we're very much looking out. And we're responding. The message is just keep on doing it. Be proud of what you're doing every day. Try and do the best that you can. Be the best that you can be, and good things will happen. And I think we are all on the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are all around the world farming and agriculture is the same everywhere. It's just that we're doing it differently, and our normal is different to everyone else's normal.
Yeah.
But just be proud, Mid-Canterbury, because I am.
Yeah. You've just got to. I'm a fan. We're a fan of the chase, and I reckon, when Bradley says, "So if you win some money, what would you like to do?" The amount of people that say, "I'd love to go to New Zealand," would have to be the number one country, you know. And my travels. The ones in America who did know where New Zealand was. It wasn't. So I thought you was from upstate somewhere.
Upstate New York. Yeah.
It has got all over Europe, UK. It's got a wonderful. People just think it's just beautiful spot, and it certainly is. You're quite right. We should be very proud, mate. Absolute pleasure. You're another one of these Mid-Canterbury hidden gems, and it's I'm stoked to tell your story a bit on the couch. So I really appreciate your time, Hamish.
Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I am particularly proud of being able to tell our story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very good. Thank you very much for having me.
Keep up the good work, mate.
Yeah. No worries.
Cheers.